Hello, my name is Julie, and today we are jumping into my second freezathon vlog. So if you aren't caught up, I am running a month-long readathon in December called Freezathon. It's team-based, and because I am the host, I am reading for 1 week of each of the 3 teams. Anything past that, I don't know what I'm reading, but I am specifically vlogging reading 3 books for each team. So last week, for the first week of the readathon, I read for 100 Tower, the thriller horror team, so you can check out that vlog here. And this week, I'm going to be reading for Fortress Frost, the sci-fi fantasy team. But I'm going to tell you about the 3 books that I'm for sure going to be reading in this vlog. The first of which is The Chalice of the Gods by Rick Riordan. This is the newest Percy Jackson book. So there's a lot of Percy Jackson books that have been released since the Heroes of Olympus, but this one takes place chronologically before any of those and is like right after Heroes of Olympus. So even though I haven't read a lot of those, I can still jump back into this. I've heard people really loving this. This is like a return to form. This is another adventure with Percy, Annabeth, and Grover, and I am so excited for the show to come out. I know very little about this book except it's the 3 of them, and it has to do with Ganymede. I haven't read a middle grade book in a very long time, so I know that this won't take me very long at all to read. On the other hand, a book that will take me a long time to read probably is Goliath by Toshi Onyebuchi. This is a sci-fi that is the last book that I have to read for my 12 Friends 12 Books 12 Months challenge. So this is a sci-fi about a time in the future in which people are starting to leave Earth because it's getting so dangerous to be here. So I know we follow a couple different perspectives. I did try listening to Riot Baby by this author before this year, but it was such a short audiobook and I was reading it on a high speed and there was some speculative elements that I just didn't really get. So I didn't end up rating that book, but I think reading this physically will let me do this book more of a service. And the last book I am going to definitely be vlogging is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is my 3 of Clubs book of the month, and this is a cozy fantasy. It's a prequel to Legends and Lattes, but you don't have to have read Legends and Lattes to read this. So I'm going to bring you with me as I do a bunch of things this week. I have a surprise party that I'm going to tonight, and probably hiking with my friends. And other than that, it is getting ready for the holidays and working my, of course, full-time job on top of doing the readathon. And I also have a couple of crochet orders to ship out. I will be a little bit busy, but I know I'm going to be pushing myself to get through these books. So I've just read the first 50 pages of Chalice of the Gods, and you know what? It is a little bit weird being back, if you know what I mean. First of all, there's things that people have been mentioning of like the time change of this is being written as if Percy is 17 right now in 2023. But the main thing I've noticed so far is that this is definitely like way lower stakes. Percy's trying to go to New Rome College, and he needs to get 3 recommendation letters from gods by doing 3 new quests. This is so much lower stakes than the original series, even. Like, the first book feels very life and death, even when it's silly. And then each of the books, for the most part, gets more and more serious, with the last book, you know, culminating in what is one of the best, like, stake-building series conclusions. And then we have The Heroes of Olympus, which was obviously written for an older audience, and those books were so much longer. So we've gone from middle grade to YA back to middle grade. Tonally, there's a little bit of a dissonance. We've had some cute moments, we've had some fun dialogue, some things that have made me laugh or smile. It's just a little bit weird, and I'm going to kind of treat it like it's officially licensed fan fiction, if you will. I'm really sad that we're not going to see Camp Half-Blood in this. Like, on one hand, I'm having the fun of, like, this is a Percy Jackson content, and it's new. And on the other hand, it's really weird to read. and I don't exactly understand what the audience is supposed to be. Doing well so far. I'm going to be driving in about 30 minutes to go to my friend's back to the US party, which I'm excited for. I'm gonna try that audiobook that I was thinking about DNFing, and if I don't like it, I'm just not gonna read it. And pick up something else and maybe read it in this vlog. We'll see. Hi, it's a couple days later. No, I haven't really been reading because I have been hanging out with my college friends for the first time since I graduated. You saw a bunch of fun stuff that we did, but I have gotten a bunch of fun stuff, so I wanted to show you. At Barnes & Noble, I recommended a ton of books to a ton of people. We bought more books than there were people who came with us. I decided to splurge and get myself some stuff. 2 books that aren't on my Christmas list. We have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I've heard really good things about this as like one of the rom-coms, romantic type books of the year. So this is a romance that has to do with a woman who moves into her like aunt's apartment or something, and there is a time travel element to it where like there is also a man in this apartment from 7 years in the past who like shows up occasionally. I've heard like 4 or 5 star reviews for this. I want to read everything time travel, so thought I'd pick it up. And I also picked up Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. I have read the first 2 books in this series and really love them. Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail is the second book, and it is probably my favorite romance of the year. This one has a fake dating after a one-night stand. I probably do want to get an Astrid Parker physical copy at the very least, but I'm happy to get my hands on this so I can read it whenever I actually am in the mood. With a purchase, you got a free like short story little booklet, and I picked out Mary Shelley Gothic Tales. Then I have been working like crazy on the Etsy dolls that I need to get out. So I went to Michael's and restocked on all the yarn that I use for like more than just trim. I love the Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn. That's my favorite. It's acrylic, but it's like nicer acrylic. As a treat for myself, because of all the orders and stuff that I'm putting out, I picked up this size 5 yarn that's pink and green, and these are like 2 of my favorite colors together. I just made myself my first beanie, and I think I might make myself another one that's more like slouchy. And I don't know, I thought this was super cute, had to get it. And we also got a ton of stuff for making candles, and I think I'm gonna make that for a bunch of my relatives for Christmas. And now I get to show you all the Christmas decorations that I got. I just love the holiday season. I like a lot of decorations. We're not super religious, but I do like Christmas decorations and everything, and I don't really have many for my apartment, so this is like the first time I was buying stuff, and a bunch of stuff was on sale. So first I picked up this little gnome that's holding a gingerbread. Green's my favorite color, so I try to get all the green and red stuff. Love the gnome, and I bake all the time. I got this sign, Santa Claus is coming to town, and it lights up. I just don't have batteries in it. Like the type of like wood sign that this is, and the like almost like motel type font is something that I love a lot. I got this cute little deer that lights up, a cute little table runner. I was looking for a garland, but I didn't have any, but this is like a nice woven material, and I have a couple things like this in my apartment to begin with. And then the last thing that I got, I had to get because I saw it when I was walking to check out, and it's a little mug that's a gnome. This opens up and it's taped down right now, and I just thought, it's so cute. It was really cheap. All of this stuff was like 50% off at the very least, and my mom had Kohl's Cash, and my mom had like a 40% off on top of this, so way cheaper than normal. And I got a couple of gifts for friends, and a gift for Secret Santa. So that checked off a lot of things that I need to do. So the rest of my day is going to be spending time at home, working on my doll orders. I am about to finish my first Kaladin doll. I say that, but I have the hair and the boots to do, and then I'm done. The jacket is the thing that takes forever, and I'm realizing that I should definitely not be pricing my Percy doll and my Kaladin doll at the same price point, because there's so many accessories that come with the Kaladin doll that, like, it just doesn't make sense that they're the same price. So I just thought I'd check in with my cute things and get back to it. Hopefully Bookshops and Bone Dust comes in today. Really, really hoping. Got some weird lighting going on, but I'm 50% of the way through Chalice of the Gods. I finally figured out what's so weird about this book, other than like tone stake shifting. It's that there's no road trip. Except for the 5th book, every single book involves a like cross-country road trip, essentially, of them having to like live on the road and like take care of themselves while also trying to get to their destination. And there are fetch quests for sure, but it's more who do they run into physically while on the way to their destination. And this one is a bunch of fetch quests in New York City while they're in school. But it just seems so like antithetical to the normal setup of a Percy Jackson book, and that's definitely what's weird about this. It's not on summer vacation, it's not on winter vacation. I mean, I'm definitely not minding it. I'm having a good time. For the most part. It got a full laugh out of me. I can't remember what it was. It does feel a little bit like scraping the bottom of the barrel for what types of characters we're meeting. So I finally did the math on my crochet dolls. If I split the dolls into the distinct parts, I have a total of 17 parts that I need to get done in 13 days, which means that as long as I complete an average of 1.3 parts per day, I'm fine. That means that this just became a little bit more manageable than I thought it was. I'm going to finish 50 more pages of this, which means I will definitely be finishing this tomorrow, if not tonight. Also, I started The Endless War by Daniel L. Jensen. This is the 4th book in the Bridge Kingdom series. I'm listening to it on audio, and I think that I might be replacing Bookshops and Bone Dust in this vlog for The Endless War, because I don't actually know when I can get my hands on Bookshops and Bone Dust. It's currently 2 hours away at a different library, and I also think it might get more points if I use it for Castle Coco. Endless War, I have been holding on for a while. Our main character, one of them has just become king, and one of them has just been put into prison. Yay! So I'm ready for some real angst. I just really like the relationship dynamic between the two of them. These two characters, both like in their physical appearance and the type of character archetype they are, don't fit into the normal enemies to lovers plot. At least the male love interest is a pretty different figure from what the normal enemies to lovers male love interest is, which makes him all the more interesting. Like, even if he's not your cup of tea, it's something fucking different. Maybe I'll listen to that while I'm crocheting, but I've been sucked into Never After, the D&D show that I was watching yesterday, so might do a little bit of both. Last night, I did end up finishing the Chalice of the Gods. One of the last things he did in his quest that felt very Percy Jackson, Rick Riordan, in message to the audience. I want to know what the intention behind making this story was, because I don't fully understand who the audience was meant to be, or what the purpose of this story was going to be. Did a lot of crocheting yesterday. I cleaned, I edited, I did literally everything I wanted to do yesterday, and now today I'm going to
do it all again. I've gotten a good portion of the way through the Endless War. Karis has met up with Lara and Aaron, and that's great seeing their dynamic, and I'm glad that we're finally into new plot. If you're unfamiliar with the series, basically how it works is book 2 and book 3 take place concurrently. They're just different characters in different parts of the world. So it's been since book 2 that we've had like new plot things going on. There were some really creative scenes and ways to introduce flashbacks that we've seen in this first little bit. Exciting. I also started Goliath. First impressions, what the fuck is going on? I told you all that I read Riot Baby and didn't fully understand it, and right off the bat, I'm not fully understanding this one either. There's zero hand holding, lots of jumping around between characters, and I am grasping at things to try to understand what's going on. But we're in 2050. A lot of the world has moved off planet, and we are following people who are on Earth after a lot of people have left, and there's still a lot of crises going on, and there's just been like a weird mix of tones between the different perspectives that we've seen so far. I was nervous that I wasn't going to fully comprehend this book, or that it was going to take a lot of brain power, and right now I was correct in that assumption, but I got further than I thought in the time that I did. I am exhausted. I'm going to take a little nap, and then I'm going to get back to all of the things that I'm forcing myself to do today. It's a few days later, and it is the end of week 2 of freezathon. This is the current stats. At the time that you're seeing this, they have already changed, but I have not been able to get much reading done at all in the last couple days, so I haven't been updating you. But my boyfriend's coming over for the weekend because he is out of school, so we are spending a little pre-holiday time together, and I have been cleaning my apartment like mad. I've been so busy with crocheting, but I am over 50% of the way done. I have finished and shipped my Kaladin doll earlier today. You saw me leave and get my Starbucks. That means I am on to Percy, which he is much shorter. He doesn't take as long. I have been working on my 2024 reading spreadsheet, so if you've been looking forward to that, I am currently in the middle of edits. Got some exciting updates, at least in my mind, because there were some stuff that I realized that I wanted to change. And I always do this every year with my spreadsheets. Some things I find useful, some things I don't, some categories that I want to redefine, that sort of thing. But I am finally done with everything that I need to do, so I'm going to be picking up some of Goliath. I think the only reading update that I have for you all is that I am like 40% of the way through the Endless War. The beginning plot of this book, unfortunately, is my least favorite of the 4. One of our characters is trapped on an island of prisoners that has like different gangs sort of going on. There's not enough resources to go around, so people turn to violence and gangs. It has a little bit of a Lost vibe to it. This plot line is not engaging me as much as the other 3 books have. Assuming that it's not going to be the plot of the entire book, it kind of feels like this is gonna resolve by like the 50% mark maybe. I love the couple in this one just as much as I love Lara and Aaron. I want the plot in their books to be done justice because, as I mentioned before, book 2 and book 3 take place at the same time. So when you're reading book 3, you already know what a lot of the plot beats are gonna be. I am probably gonna read a bunch of Goliath as much as I can before Austin gets here. We're probably gonna chill out. We've got D&D tonight. We've never done D&D together. In fact, as much as I'm obsessed with D&D and always talk about it, I've never been a PC before, and we're gonna be doing a Christmas Eve one-shot at my new friend's house. I'm very excited for that. I'm excited for all the little Christmassy things we'll get to do in my cute small town. If I have any updates, of course, you will see me. It's Monday again. Austin is gone. Spent a nice weekend together, but I was very focused on spending time with him or spending time with him while also doing crochet stuff. So I wasn't filming much, even though we did a bunch of cute Christmassy things. We went and saw Christmas lights, we explored downtown, went out for dinner. I officially put in the Percy order, so now I am down to one Christmas Etsy order left. Unfortunately, it is a Kaladin, so it's gonna take a long time. I've gotten to about page 210 of like 330 of Goliath. This book is not very centralized. We've had so many different perspectives, so many different styles of storytelling. Like we've had like interviews, we've had like a newspaper article that somebody's writing. And we've had all these different perspectives that we're following, and it's almost too many characters to really keep straight. I really like the subtlety of how the world building is going. So we are in not post-apocalyptic Earth, but a mid-apocalyptic Earth, where basically Earth has become the slum as the world has become so toxic to live in, like literally carcinogenic. White flight has happened again, but it's happening into space. And 95% of this book takes place on Earth as a bunch of different people are experiencing different parts of this mid-apocalypse. They're still there. This book takes a lot of thought to follow, and it is thought-provoking. There's not much of a overarching plot happening, which is where it is more dragging for me. This is one of those books that I appreciate more than I enjoy, even though it is about like an apocalypse and stuff. There is still hope. It is such a bleak landscape that these characters are in, but they're trying their damnedest to get some sort of life. But I listened to a good amount of The Endless War in the last 24 hours. We are finally off this fucking island, and I am liking the book so much more. Compared to the rest of the books, I really hated this island plot a lot. I felt like it went on for too long, and I just like didn't care about this whole situation. Like what they're saying about like political prisoners or whatever is interesting. Really was bored by the characters going through this plot. It felt so much like smaller than the rest of these books. I don't know, it didn't feel as sophisticatedly done. So now we are off the fucking island, thank God. We're fighting the evil people who we have discovered are evil. I really like the arc that Zara is having, but she has been gaslit so bad that she cannot think straight and she doesn't know who to trust. And now that she's surrounded by like our main characters who are obviously trustworthy, she is really struggling to trust them, and she is trying to figure out how to get her identity back and her confidence back, but like also make the right decisions, because she doesn't want to make any decision that someone else agrees with, because is she being manipulated by them to make that decision? That makes a conflict between her and Karis that actually makes sense to be a conflict. And it's very much like they want to be together, but how is it possible that they will be together? I really didn't like something that happens between Lara and Aren. Like on paper, I kind of like it, but I just don't like how it's being used in this. I'm probably going to finish both of these within the next 36 hours, and we can give this vlog a rest because it's been an exhausting week. Is this even an interesting vlog? Great fucking question. I'm gonna go have dinner. I promised and I delivered. I have finished both The Endless War and Goliath. Very proud. Let's talk about The Endless War first, because I did finish it first. I finished this during work. We got to see more of the relationship dynamics in this. I talked about how I was really liking Zara's arc in this, because I do think that Zara's arc was more important in this book than Karis's was. I like the high stakes of the ending. There was some action, there was a plot twist, there's bad guys going down, which I always love, and I liked the bow that was put on the relationship between Zara and Karis. I think I had the same thing with the Traitor Queen, where like I wanted a little bit more after, but I think that would have just been a little bit of wish fulfillment rather than something that actually was necessary to the book. I had a much better time with the back half of this book than the front half of this book. There were some scenes that I really loved between our characters. I'm gonna give this a 4, so this is my least favorite of the Bridge Kingdom books, but it's not because of the relationship, it's just the plot wasn't as strong as the other ones. So the first 2 books I think are on par with each other. With Laura and Aaron, I love their relationship. I love their relationship just as much, or maybe I could be even a little bit more, because they aren't necessarily the typical characters that you see, but I don't think the plot of these 2 books is as strong as the first 2. I rated these books 5, 5, 4.5, 4. I am excited to see where the next duology of this book goes, because I think we had a little bit less of a cliffhanger when it came to the fantasy plot. Now we've got Goliath. So this book is actually split into 4 parts: summer, fall, winter, spring, which is confusing because this is not a linear book. But I will say the back 2 I enjoyed and got more out of than the first half. But I think the narratives that we followed, I just liked more, or I could follow more, especially in the winter section. There is essentially a really long chapter where it just flips between those 2 narratives I was talking about earlier. There's a slaver who's been captured and is going to be executed, and there is a man recalling a prison riot that he was in. And just flipping back and forth between those 2 narratives, I much preferred following the like prison riot one. I just thought that I had more clarity, but that specific narrative was my favorite of the entire book. The author is trying to make you think and is making you put all the pieces together, is making you realize what this world is like, piece by piece, slowly. There's a point at which the work is no longer like enjoyable. So that's where that appreciation versus enjoyment comes in. I've read a couple of reviews on this, and I specifically wanted to look more on the biblical aspects of this. Obviously, this is called Goliath. There's a character named David, and David and Jonathan. I didn't even know that David and Jonathan was like a thing in the Bible. I'm not very well versed in a lot of the biblical references that are in this. A lot of that is not directly talking about the Bible, like they mentioned Sodom and Gomorrah, anything like that. I don't know, I really like how this is about Black and brown people reclaiming what they can in an uncertain future, and showing how the fight for justice and equality and equity and all that is not linear progression. It is a battle that has to be constantly fought. And just because there's been a win in the past doesn't mean that that can't be taken away. Probably gonna give this a 3.5, 4. Like, if you're talking about actual quality of book, especially because the writing in this is gorgeous, I would give it a higher rating, like a 4-ish, but my ratings do include like my actual enjoyment of the book, which would be more like a 3, so we're going in the 3.5 area. So I've read all the books for my Fortress Frost vlog. I am going to go straight into my cozy and romance reads that I'm going to be reading for the last vlog for Team Castle Coco. Make sure to join us for the readathon in the Discord, on the Instagram, blah, blah, blah. Share all your stuff with me. I really want to see it. I know I'm behind on posting these vlogs, and it's because I was busy and sick. So now that things are slowing down for me, I should be able to get this actually out to you guys. Now that I'm out of the direct sunlight, thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought. If you're on Fortress Frost, what did you read for the readathon? How'd your readathon go? How many points you get? And if you'd like to join the readathon, links are in the description. If you'd like to follow me anywhere, Links also in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next one.